What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today, well, we haven't looked at many of the option cards from New Evolution, and I consider that to be just a little bit rude. So I suppose we should fix that by having a look at all of the lovely new red option cards from New Evolution, and yes, we will be going through all the other colours in due time. So, maybe we should start off having a little bit of a look at a card with Breakdramon on. It's Gravity Crush. A zero-cost card, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. You can play this bad boy for free, and it gives you 2 memory. That sounds a little bit good, doesn't it? Oh yeah, but at the end of your turn, you lose 2 memory. So it's short-term fun, gain, and long-term pain. Not even that long-term, medium-term pain. Now, the thing is, this can be good. Now, if you're trying to pass a turn to your opponent with less memory, this won't work. You've got 1 memory and you want to play a 4-cost card, then you would pass it to your opponent with 3 memory. So you play this, you go up to 3 memory, play the 4-cost card, goes to your opponent's turn with 1 memory, you lose 2 memory, they go up to 3. So if what you're trying to do is make your opponent take the turn with less memory, you're on to a loser here, it ain't going to work. This card is basically good for one thing, and that is, I need to play an extra card now. Let's say you've got 1 memory and you want to play 2 2-cost cards. Well, you play this to go up to 3, and then you can play those 2 2-cost cards and you're off. And your opponent will get an extra 2 memory. You've not gained anything in terms of memory, but what you have done is been able to play those 2 cards this turn, rather than having 1 card played and then it going over to your opponent. Now, we have actually we've seen a card from each colour that does a very similar thing, in that when you attack, you gain 3 memory, but then at the end of the turn, you have to give that 3 memory back. So, for argument's sake, the Garurumon from New Evolution is the blue card that does exactly this. And when I talked about these cards, I said there is actually a way around it. And the way around it is to pass it to your opponent, the turn, with basically maximum memory. You've got 2 memory left. You play Metal Garurumon, and you go from 2 memory to 10 memory to your opponent. There is a hard cap of 10 memory in this game. So if you pass it to your opponent with 10 memory left, then all of a sudden the game tries to give it to your opponent, the extra 2 memory that is, but it fails because they can't, because there's a hard cap of 10 memory. That's how you can make this card literally give you 2 memory for 0 cost. You're welcome. Should also point out the similarities here to Hammerspark. Hammerspark is a 0-cost card that gives you 1 memory. If you just want the extra memory and you don't want to then give it back to your opponent, Hammerspark is a better option, though it is a blue card, not a red card. Now, one weird thing we do need to point out here before we move on to the next card, there's no security skill. All the cards we've seen so far, all of the option cards we've looked at, have some kind of security skill. When the card is flipped as a security card, you get something. Nothing here, completely blank. Which means if you do put it next to something like Hammerspark, it actually looks even worse, because Hammerspark is actually better as a security card. It gives you an extra 2 memory. This does nothing. Moving on with red cards, however, we should probably have a little bit of a look at Scrapclaw, a 3-cost card that gives one of your Digimon piercing until the end of your turn. Piercing is good. Seriously, we like piercing. Piercing is really good. Piercing says that when you destroy a resting Digimon, you then perform a security check. General rule of Digimon, either you attack a resting Digimon, or you attack the security, your opponent flips a security card. If it's a Digimon, you battle it, although it goes away either way. It's just if they've got more or the same power as you, you also get destroyed. Or if it's an optional tamer card, then it activates. Cool. All the security skill activates. Here you get to do both. Take out a resting Digimon and perform a security check. I love this. I think this is really good. We have seen there are some cards around that have piercing, but if we look at the red deck, for instance, it's not amazing. We've got Breakdramon who has piercing, and on the one hand, that's really nice, and on the other hand, it's not a particularly impressive level 6 in and of itself. It's nice that it has piercing, but that's about the only thing we like about Breakdramon. The rest of it, we're not terribly impressed. The only other one we've got is Garudamon that does have piercing and an inheritable skill that if the Digimon is blocked, you draw 1. So it's fine, but you don't necessarily have them on the ones you want. Now, over in the green deck, however, we do have a phenomenal piercing option. One of my favourite cards in the set is Granku Wagamon, where you've got piercing and during your turn, 15,000 power. Only 11 on your opponent's turn, but 15 on your turn. Yeah, that's really quite good. It is actually more expensive because of it. It is 13 cost to play normally and 4 cost to evolve, which is 1 more on each than we'd expect in New Evolution, but for that exact reason. But you don't always get that advantage. Now, the other thing that's super interesting with the red deck is that we've got Babymon, and Babymon says that if the Digimon that has evolved from it has piercing, you get an extra 2,000 power. So now, actually, this is building up a little bit more, because now you've actually got Babymon here as well. So when you play this new option card, not only do you get piercing, but if you've evolved from Babymon, Scrapclaw will give you an extra 2,000 power. Yeah. This is starting to build into a little bit of combo, and it's a combo I'm kind of a fan of. And once again here, like in the previous card, we need to point out that it's got no security skill. Doesn't do anything as a security card. Now, there is a very good chance a lot of people are still going to look at this and go, yeah, but it gives one of your Digimon pierce, that's awesome. And I do incidentally believe that this one is so good, you kind of have to take away the security skill, otherwise it would be too good. A free cost that gives any Digimon pierce can be amazing, but be aware there's no security skill here. Moving on, we could have a little bit of a look at Nuclear Laser. It is a free cost card that lets you draw 2 and gives one of your Digimon an extra 2,000 power until the end of your turn. I'm in love with this. I think this is phenomenal. This game is a weird one in that you have some draw-on skills, but it's generally like 1 at a time. And you do get to draw a card every time you evolve, which incidentally I think is one of the best mechanics in the entire game. And that simple mechanic alone makes the game significantly better. Sweet! Drawing 2 cards is good. You're going to draw into your evolutions a little bit faster than you otherwise would. You're going to draw those option cards or tamer cards that you need a little bit faster than you maybe normally would. It's brilliant. And then you get the extra 2,000 power. Bearing in mind, right, this is the red deck. Gaining power is what the red deck generally wants to do. You can only, the Agumon. One of the easiest, simplest, most generic of Digimon we're going to get. And nothing against Agumon. Agumon's adorable, but it's a level 3 of the mascot Digimon. And when you evolve from Digimon, you get an extra 1,000 power. The Tamer in the starter set gives your Digimon on your turn an extra 1,000 power. Koromon, the Digitama, if you've got 4 evolution sources, you get an extra 1,000 power. You see where I'm going here? This does what red decks want to do. You get extra power, but you also get a bit of extra draw power, and that's kind of awesome. One of the downsides of Nuclear Laser, however, is that we can put it side by side with Great Tornado. Great Tornado is another free cost red option card that gives one of your Digimon an extra 2,000 power, but it also gives you security attack +1. Which then, of course, gives you the question, would you rather have security attack +1, or would you rather have draw 2 cards? And I don't think it's that simple a question. I think depending on what you're playing and what your board state is, etc., it's going to determine. If you desperately need an evolution you don't have, clearly drawing 2 cards is going to be a better thing than the security attack +1. But then again, if you've got 2 Digimon in play, and your opponent has 2 security cards and no blockers, security attack +1 will win you the game. Your first Digimon takes out the 2 security cards, assuming it doesn't get destroyed by security, and then your second Digimon attacks and wins the game. The thing I find is that Great Tornado can be an actual full-on proper job game-winning card, whereas Nuclear Laser I don't think fits in the same category. Not saying that drawing 2 cards won't win you the game, but I am saying that security attack +1 will literally mean you can attack to win. Drawing 2 cards will often keep you in the game a little bit longer. You have been warned. And stop me if you've heard this before in this exact video, but there's no security skill here. 3 out of 3, no security skill. Now this does make it a lot more relevant when we put it side by side with Great Tornado. Now Great Tornado here is an interesting one. It's not got a good security card. You just add it to your hand and then you got to pay the cost to play it later. But it at least puts it in your hand and gives you access to it. This, if it comes out as a security card, nothing. Gets discarded, does nothing, gives no advantage, can't be used later. Boo! And the final one today is one of the more expensive ones. We could have a little bit of a look at the 5-cost card, Oblivion Bird. Destroy one of your opponent's Digimon with blocker. Oh. Yeah, that's actually really good. Now, back in the starter set, of course, we saw Gaia Force, an extremely powerful option card that just lets you destroy one of your opponent's Digimon. It's an 8-cost, but it lets you destroy any Digimon. This lets you save free memory. You play it for 5 memory instead of 8. Yay! But you only get to destroy a Digimon with blocker. You don't get to destroy a general Digimon without it. And I honestly don't know how I feel about this. If your opponent's got a big bad Metal Garurumon or Granku Wagamon, this is not going to do much for you, like at all. Okay, fine. There is that card that does give one of your Digimon blocker. It's Testament. It's one of them their yellow cards. It's a free cost, so if your opponent uses Testament to give one of their Digimon blocker, then you can drop this to KO them. But if your opponent knows you're playing this card, they're going to be extremely careful about which Digimon they give blocker to and when. I worry that this isn't going to end up being useful enough. I mean, it would take out something like Monmon that's got blocker, but Monmon's a 1,000 power Digimon. Do you really want to be paying 5 memory to get rid of a 1,000 power Digimon? And the answer might be yes, because it may well be that you need to attack 3 times this turn to win, and if you don't, your opponent's going to win, and Monmon's the only blocker on your opponent's side of the board, so taking out the blocker will win you the game, fine. But I'm not sure it's always going to work like that. This is the kind of card that if drawn at the right time will be absolutely full-on proper job game-winningly amazing. It will be literally, and I mean this literally, perfect. But how many games are you going to play where you draw this and your opponent doesn't have a blocker on the field? Or they do, but you're really not getting enough value out of playing the card? How many times are you going to play this for 5 memory just for the sake of getting rid of a blocker you don't really need to get rid of right now? That's kind of my problem here, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think this is a bad card by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's a very situational card. If we get sideboards in the future, a little deck of cards you keep to the side and get to swap in and out between games in a best-of-3 series, this is phenomenal, because you can put it in your sideboard and bring it out if you need it. If we're heading into a meta with lots and lots of blockers, so that blocker is a really important thing, so getting rid of blockers also becomes a really important thing, then again, I can see an awful lot of value in this. As its own in a vacuum, consider me slightly apprehensive. And good news, ladies and gentlemen, we have finally reached a card that actually has a security skill. And it's one we've seen quite a lot. you activate the main effect. So when you play it, you destroy one of your opponent's Digimon that has blocker, and when it comes out as a security card, you destroy one of your opponent's Digimon that has blocker. Clearly good, however, this is even more awkward. Remember, in the first instance, you might not have an opponent who's got any blockers on the field, but at least you can keep this card in your hand, you can stash it and drop it when your opponent does have a blocker on the field. But when it comes out as a security card, it's now or never. So if this comes out as a security card when your opponent does not have a blocker on the field, gutted. It does nothing. Boo! Maybe it doesn't have a security skill. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are all the red option cards we'd not talked about before. Obviously, I'll be back over the next couple days showing you blue, yellow, and green as well. Why would I not? That would be rude. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about all these lovely new cards, so let me know in the comment section. Tell me which are your favourites, tell me which ones you love, tell me which ones you're never going to play. Go nuts, be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we talk Digimon and a whole bunch of other games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, all kinds of fun stuff. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.